All right, we are back. Man, it was so great to have Benji and Arlene leading with us, and we've been watching the chat. It's been good to see everyone. We've got someone watching as far as Japan, so hello Tanner and Bree. And it's just been good to see all of you guys.
Yeah, they were
there
chatting
in
in Japanese, but unfortunately,
I'll translate that.
So,
they said
nope,
it looks like good morning is what that says. So you're welcome.
Oh, well, this morning originally we had planned a while back. Dan and I had a video interview with Mike McCarg, and we were going to play that this morning, but we actually decided to shift gears because we do have some really important announcements to make this morning, some really important things to share with you. I think most of you are aware that we are coming off of a 7-week-long sabbatical. It has been a hell of a year for everyone. 2020, I don't really have anything that I can say about the year without using really bad language.
That's right, yeah.
So
we're not a fan of 2020.
No, and really the past year and a half for us personally has been really difficult for a multitude of different reasons, and so we needed to step away for a little bit and to really breathe, to genuinely seek the Spirit of where the Spirit was leading us, and just to kind of get some distance from everything so we could start to pursue some healing and some wholeness. And so that's where we've been. And so this is our first Sunday back. And so we just have some things that are really important that we need to share with you moving forward.
Yeah. Like Kelly said, this has been a really challenging year on a lot of fronts. It's not just one front. And I don't know if you've ever kind of walked through a season like that where it's not just one thing. That one thing you could kind of like handle, but it's like this compounding interest of things. And I've told several people, I feel like in a lot of ways for the past year and a half, it's been almost kind of in that triage mode. You know what I mean? Where you just kind of do what you got to do to get through it. And you know, okay, on the other side of this, like I'll need to process some of this, but it's like, we have to do these things first though. And I feel like
those things just didn't stop.
Yeah. And then just imagine more and more of those. And that's been this past year and a half. So, and for both of us, but there's been some things specifically that were hard for me as well. And I think the upside of all of this is my faith in Christ and love for Jesus, same for you, is stronger than it's ever been. Our relationship is as strong as it's ever been. So those things have been like kind of this foundation through all of this. But nonetheless, it's been a really hard season, which led to, again, 7 weeks ago, going to the board and saying, hey, well, we can line up some speakers. We can line up, in some ways, this kind of like digital world makes a few things kind of easier on the practical side of things to be able to take a break like that. And and the board agreed and allowed us to do that. So our gratitude to the leadership of this church, the elder board and the trustee board, to kind of running things, Amanda running so much as well.
Jonathan helping with Sundays.
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of people kind of stepped in to help us with that season. It was greatly appreciated. I have watched those messages, and it was just great to be able to expose you to other voices as well. I was so grateful for that, that we were able to do that. So one of the kind of tricky things in handing things off for a longer season is kind of some of the things that I do that it's difficult for anyone else to do. And one of those things, since COVID hit, and this takes no rocket scientist, you look around and see businesses, but COVID really impacted Eikon financially. We've tried to not be super vocal about that because we know it's the reason it's affecting Eikon is because it's affecting you. It's affecting all of us. Like
everybody.
Eikon is just it's people. So as COVID has affected people, it in turn has affected us. So one of the kind of bright spots in all of this was initially we had really good communication with our lender. How the building's set up is we lease from AG Financial. It's technically an arm of AG Financial called Foundation Capital. Not that it matters a ton. But I was calling them on a regular basis, kind of updating them what our cash flow was looking like, what our budget was looking like, and working with them kind of each month. We would come to an agreement on what rent would be for that month. And I have my contact that I work with, I've known since before we got into the building, and working with him on that was easier than it could have been in a lot of ways. So before I left, I sat down and said, hey, since I'll be out for the discussion of kind of August rent, September rent, let's kind of come to some agreements now about what things will look like for those months, so that one of our trustees, John Barger, could kind of run with things. And he went to kind of the committee that makes all the decisions, and they came to an agreement on kind of what a structure of rent would be. So basically a percentage of whatever would come in would just go directly to rent, so that we didn't have to discuss August or September. And we got all that squared away. And then we went on our sabbatical.
And agreed with them that we would revisit.
We'd revisit.
After we were back, we'd revisit and talk forward, moving forward, what things would
what next steps would be. So our contact was like, absolutely, we'll talk sometime in September and kind of circle back around to this. And then about two and a half weeks ago, probably 2 weeks ago, one of our trustees, John, reached out to me and said, hey, we need to talk about some things. And long story short, we received a letter from a lawyer in Houston, Texas, representing AG Financial, letting us know that per the contract, our lease was being terminated, and we had 30 days to move out of the building. So that definitely blindsided us, especially because I had just 4 weeks prior come to an agreement and emailed it out to all parties involved saying, hey, here's what we're going to do. So that definitely was unexpected. That kind of obviously kind of immediately brought to an end our sabbatical, and we jumped back into things to figure out next steps. I immediately called AG Financial, kind of asking some backstory on kind of what was going on. And essentially, after receiving some interest, AG Financial just felt like they would be able to essentially shop this property and make some more money if someone else were to move in. And when they found out that there was parties that were willing to move and able to put a significant amount of money down, when they realized that that was the case, they decided that it was a good opportunity for them to move on. So I know this is big news. Originally we had till the 21st. I've since negotiated, and we have till the 30th of September, but officially Eikon is moving out of 400 Old Post Road. It's not at all what we expected. It's not at all what we wanted.
We were very blindsided by all of it. So
yeah, and I think, and this goes back to what I referred to earlier, where it feels like the blows just kind of keep on coming. And even since that revelation of receiving that letter, even in those 2 weeks, can't look at the chat. But there's just been more kind of pain and betrayals and that have just come from that. Even some completely kind of unrelated to this in one way. But it's just been a lot. I know I can speak for me. This season has been very, very hard. The weight has been very heavy. And we started the sabbatical because we were talking as leadership about when we're going to start meeting again in light of COVID, and potentially when school kind of started. Well, there's already going to be some cross exposure that way, so maybe we can start some socially distanced gatherings. And but quite honestly, I was just at a place that my brain just couldn't even go there. Like I found myself, and this is pretty rare for me, at a loss for words, at a loss for vision. I was just very tired. So we needed that sabbatical. And it was with the intention of like getting this energy to come back and drive. And then when this happened, it was just one more thing. And then the subsequent things was a lot. So in light of that, I do want to read something here to all of you. So just give me a minute. I am going to be kind of reading, but I just thought it was better to kind of put my thoughts down so I could clearly articulate everything I'm feeling. I'm going to need a little bit of water here. Eikon Church family. Words fail me at a moment like this. When I think back to the years of life that Kelly and I and so many have poured into this community, I'm filled with joy and love and gratitude. Serving you as your pastor has been one of the greatest joys of my life, and something that I wouldn't trade for the world. It has had its share of challenges, but the blessings provided both to me, to this world, and our community have made it worthwhile. Since the very first days of Eikon, I've done my best to live and model what I teach. Integrity is a value that I hold in high esteem. In that, it is so important for me to be the same person in front of you that I am behind closed doors. I cannot and will not pretend to be someone that I'm not. I've chosen and will continue to choose to be transparent with all of you. When much of Christian leadership teaches pastors to always appear to be above the fray, I cannot do that. I've been honest with all of you about my doubts, my struggles, and even the evolutions in my faith. And those of you that have stood by me through all of this have brought more healing to my heart and soul than you know. However, this approach has also brought along many challenges. Many don't like to hear their pastor articulate their doubts. Many more feel very uncomfortable with a pastor's faith changing and shifting in any noticeable way. I believe an unhealthy church culture has been created in much of Western evangelicalism. A culture where pastors, leaders, and Christians are so discouraged from following Jesus to the margins, where faith is no longer a set of propositions, but a necessary survival skill to retain one's hope in Christ. This kind of faith is better known as trust. Trust in the Spirit of Christ and the life and teachings of Jesus. I've learned this lesson hard. I've learned this lesson firsthand, and hear me, my trust in Jesus and the Spirit of Christ is as strong as it's ever been. But my heart, my soul, and my emotional health have taken a beating. I'm choosing not to get into the details of this pain, as one, it would serve none of us well, and two, it would be personally too painful in this context to work through it. I ask that you just trust me when I say that this past year and a half have been among the hardest in my life. I've experienced betrayals, rejection, and accusations that are hard to even think about, let alone retell. Eikon Church, taking risks, making sacrifices, and working hard despite opposition are things I've become quite comfortable with. But the wounds I've suffered over the past 18 months have become almost too much to bear. This is why 7 weeks ago I asked our board of elders and trustees to allow Kelly and I to have a sabbatical to get away, seek counseling, and begin to mend these wounds. Over the past year, I found myself in a place of triage, just doing what I had to do in order to make it to the next season. And this has taken its toll on my soul. And even since the beginning of the sabbatical, the wounds and betrayals have continued to land. Kelly and I have shared with you about some of these recent ones, and to be honest, I've found myself undone. I've told my counselor, my mentors, our boards, my wife, and my closest friends that I feel broken inside. I feel that a part of me has died, and I'm just so damn tired. The dreams Kelly and I have had for this community have been what has kept me moving forward through all of this. And now when I think about those dreams, the emotion I can best describe is one of apathy. Not apathy because I no longer care, but apathy because I feel like I can no longer move. It's as if I've been lifting weights to exhaustion, and the weights came crashing down on my chest. Someone told me that if I can just do 3 more reps, they'd give me $1 million. It's not that I wouldn't want that. It's that no matter how bad I do want it, there's simply nothing I can do. This is how I feel. I feel exhausted, broken, and unable to lift the weights any longer. My dreams and desires just leave me grieving for something that I will not have the joy of personally leading. It is for this reason, with great pain and sadness, that I officially announce my resignation as lead pastor of Eikon Church. I'm physically and emotionally unable to continue to serve you in this capacity. In my life, I've made some difficult decisions, but this one has been the hardest, yet the most clear. Announcing this is one of the saddest moments of my life. Since Kelly and I started this venture, I've continued to say that as long as I can be exactly who I am and be true to myself and give leadership to this church in the direction that I feel the Spirit is leading me and do more good than harm in the process, that I could lead this church the rest of my life. I always thought that last part about doing more good than harm meant that my leadership would do more harm to those I was trying to lead, that I would step down. But now I know that continue to lead would do much more harm to my own soul, and I can simply do it no longer. Though I'm announcing my resignation today, we must remember that I, Dan Matlock, have never been the sole lead pastor of Eikon Church. From the beginning, and for the entire 18 years of our marriage, Kelly and I have served side by side in ministry. And since Eikon's inception, she has not been the pastor's wife or just a ministry leader of some kind. She has been our co-lead pastor right alongside me. No major decisions have been made that she has not been a part of. I've said this for the past several years, that there's been a problem in too many Western evangelical churches by not having enough women leading. I think many of our world's problems would be better solved if we had more voices and a greater equity of voices being amplified. And in the church, there are far too few women being allowed to lead. Months ago, when the weight was bearing down so heavily, I, at first jokingly, asked her about leading the church as I stepped down. This conversation that started as nothing more than a side comment has evolved over the months. She has spent significant time and prayer processing her next steps. So although today is an incredibly painful day for me, it is also one filled with excitement, as I have the privilege of introducing my new pastor. Kelly Matlock will be stepping into the sole leadership role as lead pastor of Eikon Church. I couldn't be more excited for her and for my church. I will continue to attend Eikon. I will seek its community to find hope and healing for my weary soul. I will cherish her leadership as she guides us into this next season of life for our church. I have taken Eikon as far as I could alongside her, but I can't lead any further. I know that the next season for us will be an amazing one. I'm excited to see her work out her vision for this community in the weeks and the months ahead. Eikon Church, we couldn't have a better pastor for this next season. A pastor full of courage, wisdom, grace, compassion, and justice. I think one of the things that I most look forward to is having a pastor in a church where I can just exist. Where I can come broken and not have to hide it. Where I can bring my whole self, questions and doubts, hurts and pains, and find a community that is safe, that is compassionate, and that is loving. Thank you, Kelly, in advance for your leadership. I will follow your lead and serve this church with everything I have. Eventually. Just need a little break first. Eikon, there's so many things I want to say. Things that I will say to all of you eventually. But let me end with this. It has been one of the greatest joys of my life to serve you as your pastor for these 8 years. I love you all more than you know. May God bless you and keep you.
Sorry, I just need a minute. it feels kind of weird to just like, jump into what's next. I know, first of all, I just want to say, as Dan's best friend and partner and the person that loves him and knows him the best, we've said a lot of times before in messages and things about Dan, is Dan's like the risk taker in the relationship. He's the brave one. I'm the more kind of cautious one. And I just want to say that this is the bravest thing I've ever seen you do, to love yourself enough to take care of yourself. It's so brave, and I'm so proud of you for doing something that has been incredibly hard, but is the right thing for you. And I just also want to say to all of you right now, like, God, we just dropped a bomb, like a couple big ones. And not that you need my permission, but if you'll just let me pastor you for a second, I just want you to allow yourself to feel whatever it is you're feeling. This is a loss. And I know that as far as the building goes, I know, like, we all know it's just a building. My God, it's during COVID. We know the church is people. Like, we've figured that out. The church is people, and we know that. But also, that was our home. And so many of you worked your asses off to get it to where it is. And we've worked really hard to make that a welcoming and inclusive place for all. And so we are grieving that loss, and you need to feel okay grieving that too, because it's sad and it's hard, and we never expected it, and it just came out of nowhere for us. And so just know that, allow yourself to feel those things. Whatever you're feeling is right and fine, and you should allow yourself to feel it. And then to grieve the loss of Dan, him resigning, that we're grieving that too. Like, we know it's right and we're moving forward, but I just want you to allow yourself to feel that and to work through that and to sit with that, and to not try to rush past it or tell yourself that you shouldn't feel certain ways. Like, I think it's important that we all wholly grieve the losses that we're experiencing, so that we can adequately move forward in the way that we need to. So yeah, Dan jokingly brought up to me about me taking over the church several weeks ago, and I think my exact response was to laugh and say, hell no, there's no way I'm doing this without you. Because we've been partnering for a really long time, and so I think the thought of doing it without him was really scary. But like he said, it just planted this little thing in my heart, and it's just grown. And I think that, while we both have been carrying a lot of pain and a very heavy load, it has impacted Dan in significant personal ways that have been different in the ways it has impacted me. And I do know that when Dan told me his decision to step down, I felt like this weight was just lifted off of me, because I was so grateful that my husband could get healthy and whole and to be able to move forward and take care of himself. But also, I guess as we move forward, there is still so much that is unknown. Okay, we don't have a building, and quite honestly, we are not in a financial place to be able to get anything new right now. Nor do we don't know what the future holds. I mean, we are still in a pandemic. The world is still on fire. Everything is really weird and hard right now. So there's so much that is still unknown. And so what I do ask for is just for a lot of grace and patience with me and with our leadership team as we figure things out. I am still healing. I am still walking through this process of getting healthy and whole myself. I'm seeing counseling. I've got people, good friends in my life that are asking all the right questions, but I just ask for your grace and your patience in this time to allow me that time to still continue to heal while I lead you. For grace and patience with our leadership team, we don't have a lot of answers right now about what things are going to look like moving forward. I mean, we have ideas of things that we want to do. I mean, we're going to continue to meet virtually. We moving forward, we have ideas of, gathering in smaller groups in homes, maybe corporately finding places to meet together monthly, or there's a lot of ideas that we are putting out, but we don't have any answers yet for you. We don't know what the future for sure is going to look like. And listen, if you are in a place where if like having an actual physical church service in a building, kind of Eikon as we once knew it, if that is a big value for your family and that's what you need, I don't want anyone to feel any sense of obligation or to feel guilty if you feel like you need to look for community elsewhere. We just want everyone to be in the place that's best for them. That is what we want. So there's a lot that I don't know, and there's a lot that our leadership team doesn't know, and we are just trying to sort of, honestly, right now, like the biggest thing we have to wrap our brains around is, you guys have been in the church. If you've ever been in the supply room upstairs, this is a big job. It's going to take a lot. So right now our main focus is getting everything out of the building and figuring out how to get that done. But I do want you to know that we are actively planning and thinking and discussing moving forward what things are going to look like. I know Amanda is still moving forward with ways to safely gather kids and their families together and to get the youth together, and we are moving forward to continue to build community. So there's a lot that we don't know, but here's what I do know is over the past few months, I have had so many conversations with people both within our church, people in other churches, and what I do know is I feel like there has been this growing sense of we're sensing this shift in church as we know it in a lot of ways. We've been forced to step back and sort of strip everything down to the most important things. A global pandemic has a way of doing that to you. But what I do know is that more than anything, I think everyone is desperate for community and belonging. I think that's always been there and that hasn't changed. And I think even more so now because of a lack of the ability to gather, we are craving that more than ever. And so moving forward, even though there's so much unknown, what I do know is that Eikon is a place where people are loved and included no matter what. And I want to continue being that. I want to continue being a people who we fight for justice no matter the cost. That we meet people exactly where they are. I want us to be a faith community where we can all just be honest about where we're at and what we think and what we believe or don't believe, or what we've changed our minds about, or the things that we're doubting or questioning, or ways in which we don't believe, the things we don't believe anymore. I want to be a place where we can all be honest, bring our full selves, not have to hide any parts of who we are or what we think or what we believe, but that we can truly gather together in community and be a faith community of people that love each other, where everyone belongs, everyone has a seat at the table, everyone's voice carries weight and matters, where we fight for justice, where we run to the margins, where we look at our very community here in Hays County and we say, how can we meet needs? How can we help right here where we're at? How can we help to make our county and our community more just and safe and equitable? And I just know that although, we no longer have a building, and although leadership is changing, and although everything feels like a hot mess in a lot of ways with a lot of things, I know that the heart of what this church is all about has not changed. And while things feel heavy and sad and hard right now, I'm also thrilled and excited for the possibility moving forward, knowing that what we can all create together has the possibility of being something really, really special. And so it is my honor to pastor you. I have so much to learn, and I am not perfect, and I don't have it all figured out. I think we've made that very clear. But what I do know is that I love you very much. And I am looking forward to also providing a place where my husband can come and be pastored and find the healing that he needs. And where more and more people can find a place to belong. So, yeah.
And we understand there is lots of questions and things we're all still trying to figure out. But like Kelly said, one of the first things that we kind of have to figure out is getting out of a building that we've been in.
We just walked through the other day and I'm like, oh my goodness.
For many years. So there's a lot to do. We have until noon on September 30th to be fully out of the building. So a few things. This week, we are going to have some work days. This Tuesday and Thursday at 6:30, meeting there at Eikon. I'm just going to start calling it the building formerly known as Eikon. We're going to meet there, and we're just going to get to work. So I think the plan is right now we are going to kind of stage the building with various things, furniture kind of in this area, tech in one area, and we're going to, in the coming weeks, just do kind of an estate sale first and just push it out to the community, and if someone wants to buy something, they can come. There's some stuff that we're setting aside that, you know, when gatherings begin to happen again, that we, you know, have the stuff that we need. But there's a lot that we won't need. So the staff is already kind of walked through and identifying the things that we need to hold on to. And staff and leadership will be there to help guide this along and kind of set things where they go. There will be some things that we hope to negotiate on our way out and sell to whatever church moves in. I'd really rather not take down our hardwired in lighting system, but at the same time, if they don't buy it, you better believe I'm not making a donation to Foundation Capital in the form of those lights. They will come down. So there's just a lot to do. So if you could join us, if you feel comfortable, masks will be required.
Yeah. We will distance as best as we can.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So if you feel comfortable, we'd love to have you 6:30 Tuesday and Thursday. If not, please don't feel any obligation. If you're high risk, please don't come.
Yes.
If you have someone in your home that's high risk, please don't come.
Yeah.
And then also we want to let you know, the leadership's decided we want kind of one final moment. One of the hard things about getting that letter during this pandemic is thinking like, cool, we'll have no last service. Like there'll be so many people that even this announcement,
I'm sure all of you are reeling right now. Like, it's just a lot to take in.
And then it's via, like, you're watching a small screen, you know, and not there with your church family to grieve this loss. And there are many people that feel engaged at Eikon, would say they're a part of Eikon, but don't watch online. And I get that we'll find out.
Who knows how.
So it is hard, you know, so we decided, I know for me, I'm going to need some closure on this past season. So we are going to do one final service on September 27th. It will probably be outdoors or something. We'll figure it out. We'll get you details. But on the 27th, we are going to do one last service there at the building to both close the door on this chapter and turn the page and look ahead for what God has before us. And like I said, I'm grieving, but I'm also really excited for our future. Yeah. And
it's a lot. It's a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
Just a lot.
So I guess we'll kind of wrap it up. We do have lower latency. So what we're saying this second is arriving to you not too long. Are there any questions? We've committed to being transparent. And to anyone who asks, like, what's the real story? Like, no, trust me, I just, like, fumbled my way through it. Like, this is the best I can do. This is it.
And anything that we're not disclosing as far as personal things, like, there's a difference between secrecy and privacy, you know? And there's just some things that, quite honestly, a lot of you don't need to have to carry.
Yeah.
You know, and we are continuing, like, we're... You know, but this is the real story. And also, as you're asking questions, like, as you're thinking of questions. Also, a side note too, I'm going to later on this afternoon or after we're done here, I'm going to make a social media post on my personal page regarding all of this. And so after I do that, you can feel free to share that. Like if you know of people maybe that are more connected to you that don't watch online, that you feel is important for them to know this information, like maybe people that go to Eikon that, you know, feel free to share it on your own personal pages as well, just because we do want... it's just information we want people to know. If people are a part of Eikon, we want them to know what's going on moving forward. So
so a few of the things, you can just show up and work. We will have a check-in sheet while we're there, just in case someone does test positive, so we can easily do some contact tracing, that sort of thing. So you can just show up. To take care of us,
I don't even know.
Pray, and honestly, I do want to say this for my sake. In the coming days, if you reach out, email or text, I just know if I don't respond right away, it's not that I'm ignoring you. It's not that I'm. I just need a little time to kind of process. So. Just kind of keep that in mind if you do sense that or get that at all. I know I've had some friends kind of thinking like, Dan's kind of MIA. It's because it's just a lot to process. Cal, anything you can think of?
I was going to say the same thing. Just like as we, I keep reading the comments and it's making me cry even more. Just also like, please, like we need each other right now. So reach out to one another to talk and to have all of us helping one another through this time. I just know it's just really important that we all gather and that we have each other's backs and that we allow each other space to grieve and to be sad and all of those very normal feelings that we're all feeling right now. I feel like I'm just very concerned. I just really want everyone to be okay. So just reach out to one another and help carry each other through this.
And I was going to, and I'll talk more about this on the 27th, on that kind of last Sunday. But I felt the need to say, just to preface this now. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a pastor and holds a doctorate in church history. And I do know that there will likely be some Christians and some churches out there that might look at this and say, well, good, because of some of the stances that we've made for marginalized community, for our inclusion of the LGBTQ community. And we'll look at this as, kind of God giving us, what I deserve or what we, and to that, I'm just going to walk in love and grace for those people. And I want to ask you to do the same.
And not even engage.
We don't need to defend ourselves. No. We don't need to. I have committed for most of my life to just let God be my judge. And, and this pastor I was talking to, he said, Dan, he's like, I really believe years down the road, those people will look back at this. And at first he said, and will regret some of the things they did and said. And he said, actually, unfortunately, he said they probably won't, because the church didn't do that with racism. They look back at segregation or these different things and go, oh, it was a different era. Oh, we didn't know. And he said, but you can rest assured, there was probably some pastor in the South that stood up against segregation and stood with the marginalized and probably lost his job and maybe just sold insurance the rest of his life or did whatever the rest of his life, and we never know that person's name. And he said, you at least get to be in that company, and for us, we are losing a home in a way. We're losing our building, but we get to stand with some amazing Christians and pastors and churches that have done the right thing and stood with Jesus on the side of the oppressed. So I am so grateful for this church that has stood in the gap and has stood for what is right and what is just and what is most loving and what is most Christ-like. So thank you for being that kind of a church. And Kel, anything else?
Here we go. Moving forward on to what's next and figuring out what that looks like. And just for all of you that continue on the journey with Eikon, we love you, and I'm so grateful for you. And I know, I'm walking forward very open-handed, just going, God, I don't know what this is going to look like. I'm reminded of things that Dan said at the very beginning when we first were moving down here. When he said, he looked at all of our team and said, I can't promise you anything. Can't promise you a job. I can't even promise you that this is going to work. But, we have the opportunity to at least try and to see what God does. And so I feel very much in that same place right now of like, I don't know anything moving forward right now. We're going to do our best to like plan, but none of us really know. But I think what I do know is that, whatever we do, whatever happens, that love is with us and that we are all held and we are all so beloved, and that will never change. So
we love you. We hope you have a good week. And for those of you that are able, we hope to see you on Tuesday or Thursday. We love you. God bless you. Have a great week.
Bye.